Dear my children, welcome back to our biology class. Dears, in first chapter, we studied different life processes like nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, etc. In this chapter, we have to study about reproduction. Unlike other life processes, reproduction is not necessary to maintain the life of an individual. See, nutrition is very essential process to maintain our life. Respiration is also very important to maintain our life. Transportation, excretion, all these processes are important to maintain our life, whereas reproduction is not necessary to maintain the life of an individual. At the same time, it needs lots of energy also. Let me ask you a question. Then, why should an individual organism waste energy for such a process? Or, why do organisms reproduce? You have to think and give answer. Alright, to continue the generation. Reproduction is necessary to continue the generation. Thus, it is essential, right? Yes. In class 9, you might have studied the DNA in cell nucleus is the information source for making proteins. If the information is changed, different proteins will be made. Different proteins will eventually lead to altered body designs. Therefore, a basic event in reproduction is the creation of a DNA copy. Copies of DNA will happen. Cells use chemical reactions to build copies of their DNA. To produce DNA copy, there will be chemical reactions. This creates two copies of the DNA in a reproducing cell. And they will need to be separated from each other. The process of copying the DNA will have some variations each time. Variations. Variations means differences. There will be some differences. As a result, the DNA copies generated will be similar but may not be identical to the original. There will be lots of differences. Sometimes there will be drastic variation also. There will be number of variations. There will be lots of variations. Can you say what is variation? Yes, differences. Differences. You know, we all are human beings. I am a human being. You are also human beings. We belong to same species. But still, there are differences among us. Is it? I am different from you. You are different from your friends. You are different from your father. You are different from your mother. You are different from your brothers or sisters. There are lots of differences. A group of kittens. They belong to the same species, but still there are differences among these individuals. A group of dogs. They belong to a same species, but still there are differences among these individuals. These differences are termed as variation. So variation means differences among the same type of organisms. Differences among the same type of organisms or changes within the organisms of the same species. Changes within the organisms of the same species will be termed as variation. Variation. These variations are beneficial in the species but not necessary for the individual. You have to understand these variations are not necessary for the individual but these variations are useful in the species. You know, by environmental changes over millions of years, living organisms will have adaptations. Living organisms will have adaptations. Many of the variations are pre-adaptations, which have no immediate benefit to the individual. But whenever environment undergoes a drastic change, the pre-adaptations present in some members of the population allowed to survive and grow. Yes? So, in such cases, in the species, variations are useful. In this chapter, we have to study about reproduction and also types of reproduction. Can you give a definition for reproduction? What's reproduction? Yes, the formation of new individuals of similar type. The formation of the production of new individuals of the similar type by the mature parents, by mature individuals. If new individuals are produced, that process is called the reproduction. And commonly, there are two main types of reproduction. One is asexual reproduction, and the other one is sexual reproduction. In lower classes, you might have studied something about sexual reproduction, okay? And in 10th standard, you have to study more about sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction and sexual reproductions. In asexual reproduction, there will be the involvement of only one parent. Only one parent, or we can say asexual reproduction is uniparental. Uniparental, the presence of only one parent, uniparental. There is no sex difference, there is no male parent or there is no female parent, only one parent is required. So, it is uniparental. Whereas, sexual reproduction is biparental. Two parents are required, one male parent and one female parent. There is the involvement of male and female. It is biparental. And you know, sexual reproduction takes place in lower organisms. There is no sex difference which takes place in lower organisms. Whereas, sexual reproduction takes place in higher organisms. Asexual reproduction takes place in lower organisms and sexual reproduction takes place in higher organisms. In human beings also, sexual reproduction. Okay, asexual and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only the presence of one parent. In sexual reproduction, the presence of two parents. Asexual reproduction takes place only in lower organisms. Sexual reproduction takes place in higher organisms. Yes? In sexual reproduction, there will be the production of gametes. Gametes will be formed. Male parent will produce male gamete. Female parent will produce female gamete. You know, male gamete is termed as sperms. Female gamete is termed as ova or eggs. Gametes will be produced in sexual reproduction. But in asexual reproduction, there is no gametes because there is no sex difference. Only one parent. So, no gametes will be produced. So, there is no fertilization also. No gametes, so no fertilization. Whereas, in sexual reproduction, there will be the presence of fertilization. The gametes will be fused together. Male gamete fuses with female gamete. This process is fertilization. So, fertilization takes place in sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, there is no fertilization. This asexual reproduction is a rapid method of reproduction. It takes place very fast. There is no gametes, there is no fertilization. So, which takes place very fast. It's a rapid method of fertilization. Whereas, sexual reproduction is a slow method. It's a slower method. Sexual reproduction is a slower process. In asexual reproduction, new individuals will be produced. And these new individuals are genetically similar to parents. Only one parent and the new individuals will be genetically similar to parents. Variations may be there or very less variations. Sometimes there may not be variations also. New individuals are genetically similar to the parents. Whereas In sexual reproduction, lots of differences will be there. The new individuals are genetically different from the parents. Lots of differences, lots of variations will be. In a sexual reproduction, very less variations, whereas in sexual reproduction, lots of variations happen. Okay, so you have to identify the differences between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, or you have to compare sexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In this chapter, we have to study different methods of asexual reproduction and also sexual reproduction. We will continue in next class. Yes.